Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Delaney and this is Organized Adult, where I teach you important life skills in an organized way. So interviews and going into an interview is terrifying. It's one of the worst feelings unless you really love it and you're good at it. And it's definitely not something that people look forward to. But unfortunately, if you're a young, professional, organized adult in the real world, you're going to have to interview for things, whether that's schools, undergrad, graduate school, medical school, or if it's for jobs and internships, or even if you get to a place in your career over the next few years or even beyond that where you're giving, interviews where you're doing radio interviews or podcasts or TV, what have you. So I've given this advice to people before and they've really taken it to heart and used it and just thought it was really productive advice and things that they took into action in their real life and they worked. It made them feel better about the interview. So I want to share these tips with you guys. Okay guys, so the first tip that I have is to make yourself big. And what I mean by that is that you don't want to, be scrunched up in an office chair across from someone looking kind of timid or scared during or before the interview. You want to go into a bathroom or somewhere else that's private and stretch out and make yourself bigger and make yourself, even if you're not a big person, make yourself feel bigger than you are, because the act of, sitting up straight and making yourself take up space will automatically give you more confidence. This has been proven. There's a couple TED Talk videos about it, where making yourself feel bigger and feeling more important in that way will automatically give you more confidence going into and during an interview. Okay, the next piece of advice that I have is prepare. That is the number one way that you're going to feel more confident going into and during an interview, is if you've spent the time to do your research, to learn what you need to learn, so that there's no surprises during the interview. And what I mean by this is, if you're applying for a school, for example, you want to find out most of the things that you can about those schools. I don't think most interviewers are going to ask you, what percent of our student body is male or something like that, but just to know, the president's name, where the school is, some of the bigger majors, I don't know, some things specific to your major maybe, a couple key individuals, what their big focus is, stuff like that will really give you an edge up. And even if they don't specifically talk about it or ask you about it in the interview, having that information in the back of your head is going to be able to give you some facts that you can kind of pull out at random times during questions, and you're going to seem a lot more knowledgeable if you know people's names and maybe just a couple statistics or maybe just some general information about the school or place that you're applying to. And you don't necessarily have to memorize all this information. Whenever I go into an interview, I always make a folder for myself. I usually like to keep it a black folder, just some standard folder. You don't want to walk into an interview with a kitten folder or something, but just a black folder, and on one side I'll put a couple pieces of paper just in case I want to write down some notes or some last minute things to myself. And then I'll also have my resume, because you never know if they're going to ask you to look at their resume or if they will need a copy of it last minute or something. So you always want to come prepared with a copy of your resume, and then maybe just a notes page of things that you want to remember, people's names, things like that, that you can totally just, oh, I think I wrote this down, and you look at it and you say the thing that you need to say, and it's not a big deal. They're not going to judge you for having prepared and written things down. So those are just a couple ways I prepare for an interview. You also, off the top of your head, want to know 2 or 3 questions to ask at the end of the interview. There is always that time where the interviewer will say, "Do you have any questions for me?" And the worst thing that you can say is, "No, I think we've covered everything." Because it shows that you're not fully 100% interested in what they have to say or the program or the job or anything like that. Obviously if you're doing a radio or TV interview, this doesn't really apply, but if you're doing, an interview where you're trying to get something out of it, then you definitely want to have 2 or 3 questions. You don't want to interrogate the person kind of question. Having 2 or 3 is a good number, that even if you come in with those questions and they answer during the interview or during the interview, kind of reword those questions to get it more details about it. Be like, "Oh, we already talked about blah, 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 but I was just wondering if we could go into a little bit more detail about it," because that shows that you're interested, you're engaged, you're there, you want to know as much as you can about this program because you want to work there, you want to go to school there, and that's showing that. Are seriously not nearly as bad as people make them out to be. They are, in my opinion, sometimes even a little bit fun, because when else do you get to talk about things that you're interested in or things that you've done in your life and get to explain and convince someone that those were, exciting and reasonable and beneficial things to your life? So an interview is a really great place to do that, and a great place to introduce yourself and prove that you're more than a piece of paper, you're more than a statistic. I know that's kind of dramatic, but it's a great place to kind of showcase yourself through your words and your actions and your vibes and your look and everything else that you give off. So you will be okay. It is not the end of the world. It's one step of the recruitment process, whether that's for a job or a school or what have you. It's one part, and it's not going to completely make or break you if nothing dramatic happens. Like, obviously, if you walk in there and you swear or do something kind of ridiculous, then yeah, maybe that will be the end of that possible position for you. But most of the time, if you don't get accepted to something, it's not just because of your interview. It's maybe they had questions about some other things, and like the interview just kind of proved to them that, yeah, okay, this isn't the person for us or whatever. So it's never because you did terrible in the interview that you're not going to get things. It's for a couple of the reasons in the back of their mind that you're never going to know about. So you will be okay, and it will not be the end of the world. Interviews are not that big of a deal, and they can be, fun and a great chance for you to show who you are. So I have created a free worksheet for you guys that you can download and use for free. It was linked in my coordinating blog post below, and it's also in my shop, which is always on my blog website. This worksheet has the tips that I talked about today, just as a refresher, and it also has some places for you to fill in some information about yourself, just so that you can kind of do a self-audit before you go into an interview to know what things you need to focus on and what things are going to make you that much better at going into interviews. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that you'll subscribe if you want more content. I put out videos every Tuesday and Friday, as well as blog posts for every video. And again, that blog post is linked below with the free worksheet link. And also, one thing that I sometimes forget to mention is if you would like to join my email list and get an email from me once a week, just with a recap of my content and reminders about giveaways and worksheets and stuff like that, definitely do that and join that email list on my blog, organizedadult.com. It's always linked below. And definitely get on that email list, because I've heard from a couple people that they really enjoy it, they really like it, and they think that they're beautiful emails, which is obviously great for me to hear because I put a lot of effort into those emails. So if that's something that you want to be a part of, as well as my social media accounts, definitely join that on the blog post or on the website in general. So with that, I will see you guys next time. Take care, you guys. Bye.